Now, I want to talk to you about your nervous system. And I know a lot of you have probably heard a lot of things about how the nervous system works. It's common, it's out there, everyone's talking about it, which is great because it is operating beneath all of our behavior all the time. But I want to explain it to you in a way that's a little more embodied. And because usually I find this helps people understand the cycles that they're going through a little bit easier. So I want you to pretend like your nervous system state is a pendulum that's always kind of swinging, kind of right here in the middle. And as long as it's here in this middle zone, you feel calm, you feel resourced, like you have what you need to take care of whatever it is that life puts in front of you at the moment. And around this pendulum, we have something called a window of tolerance. And that window of tolerance serves as guardrails for your pendulum. Now, as long as whatever it is you're going through stays within this window of tolerance, you feel okay. You can handle stuff. Now, I want you to remember the word activation because this pendulum, as it's swinging, it's being activated into one of two states. We have our mobilization state and we have our immobilization state. Now, I like to embody mobilization on the right and immobilization on the left. And we kind of pendulate through these two, opposites throughout the day, where we're kind of, as long as we're inside of what we call our window of tolerance, which operates as guardrails on our pendulum, as long as our state is kind of hanging around in there, we're doing okay. We're feeling pretty good. We're feeling like we have what we need to take care of whatever it is that's in front of us. But when something happens in our environment that really sends us over, that's when we have what we call dysregulation in our nervous system. So now, instead of just being activated into mobilization, immobilization, where we're kind of like handling whatever we're dealing with pretty well, now our pendulum swings outside of our window of tolerance. Now we're not just activated, we're dysregulated. So, what happens in these dysregulated states? Well, on the right, we have mobilization, which is in dysregulation, fight flight response. When we're activated into more of our sympathetic side of our nervous system, we're trying to get something done. We're trying to change something about our environment. So something happens to us and we're scared, we feel upset, we feel frustrated, we don't have what we need. Our first instinct is going to be to do something about it. And if we can't get done whatever we need to do, then usually that response increases and it gets more aggressive or more frustrated or more, active in trying to resolve whatever the issue is that's in front of us. And you can only keep that up for so long if nothing's changing in your environment. And if you keep putting out all of that energy to change something that's happening with you and nothing changes, then your body goes into freeze collapse over here on the left. And now again, this is just an embodiment, this is not literal. But Eastern traditions do tend to characterize more mobilized masculine traits with like the sun and the right side of the body, left side of the brain, and the left side of the body, right side of the brain with more feminine moon softness. So there is there are some traditions that would literally embody it like this. Let's kind of use an example for how this goes into action. So our ancestors, when they were running from tigers, they didn't have a lot of options, right? They had to go into fight flight. Their attention would narrow. That's what happens when you get activated into fight flight. Your brain, your prefrontal cortex capacity focuses, it gets very narrow and it zeroes in on the perceived threat. Whether it's real or imagined, perceived threat is all it has to be. Your brain focuses on that threat and then you try to do something about it. If it's a tiger, you're either going to grab a bow and arrow and shoot, or you're going to run the heck out of there. And if you don't have any bows and arrows, or maybe you realize you can't outrun a tiger, you might play dead. You might come over here into immobilization, where you hide, you collapse and pretend like you're not there and hope it goes away. You conserve your energy in some way to try to protect yourself. Now, I said a minute ago that our thinking capacity is limited when we're activated into this dysregulated state. And if you think about it, it's a really, really brilliant reason why. So, long time ago, again, when our ancestors were running from tigers, that's my favorite example, the ones who stopped to rationally think through the wide array of possible options. Is this a nice tiger? Can I pet it? Is it hungry? Is it the kind of tiger that eats people? Can I outrun this tiger? Maybe I should go consult with the elders to see if this is that kind of tiger. The people who took that time to rationally think through what was going on died. So, the people who survived are the ones whose brains adapted out of that kind of thinking, rationalizing, considering your wide array of options in those moments, and instead hyper focuses on the threat in an effort to overcome that threat. What that means for us today is a reduction in the capacity for our thinking brain to stay online when we're dysregulated. Whether it's a tiger, in the forest, or an email from our boss that says, they want to talk tomorrow, which is terrifying, it's still the same process that our body is going through. We're hyper focusing on the threat rather than remembering, oh, this could just be about a meeting that we have next week, or heaven forbid, a promotion that I've been trying to get. We usually hyper focus on the perceived threats because that's how our brain learned to keep us safe, by overvaluing threat and undervaluing safety. So when we were young, this system was at work all the time with our family members. We were constantly asking ourselves, what keeps me safe? What gets my needs met? What feels dangerous? How do I not get rejected or embarrassed? How do I have somebody tend to me when something's wrong with me? All of these questions were things that our little tiny nervous systems were trying to figure out the answers to. And the thing about our system is that it doesn't only learn from what people say, it learns from experience. If someone says something, but you feel something different from them, and you've experienced that feeling before, that's going to override the words of the person. It's going to override what they're telling you, and you're going to sense danger. And some of the things that impact this system are other people's facial expressions, their tone, whether or not conflict felt safe to you growing up. Some people's entire system will shut down just at the thought of conflict. Other people might chase and chase and chase in order to resolve conflict. Put two of those people together and woof, you have a fun time on your hands, let me tell you. Was your home growing up peaceful? Was it predictable? Was it calm and loving and kind? Was it chaotic? Did you often find your needs dismissed? Oh, you're fine. So-and-so does that all the time. Why can't you? Oh, you always make such a big deal out of everything. Why are you so emotional? Those kinds of responses are just going to teach you to shut down or get louder or get more creative in how you express your pain. So over time, these adaptations that we make in response to the way that we were treated in our environments, they become automatic. We start doing things, reliving things, recreating things, whether those things are actually happening the same way they used to or not. And it just becomes autopilot. But one of the most helpful things we know about the brain is that they automate whatever they practice, which can be really difficult for us. It also can be very positive. If you think about driving, at first, every movement we make, we have to really think about it. And we're like looking around for cars and we're freaking out every time something jumps out at us and we're kind of really worried about it. But over time, this automatic response starts to happen to where pretty soon you're driving from point A to point B and you kind of don't even remember how you got there because it's so automatic that you're not even paying attention to it anymore. You're just doing it. And again, that can be a bad thing sometimes, especially if we're on autopilot with habits and patterns that are not helping us. But it also means that if we practice something new and different over and over and over again intentionally, we can create a new autopilot response. Something that actually helps us, ideally. So automatic doesn't mean permanent. It just means practiced. And practiced things can be practiced differently. So there's actually a word for what we're talking about here, this process of your nervous system constantly asking, am I safe? And that is neuroception. Without your conscious awareness, your system constantly asking, am I safe? About people, places, voices, tone, facial expressions, body language, all of those things are under this microscope of neuroception. And your body is just filtering through its experiences, wondering and predicting whether or not it's safe. And most of the time, you don't even really realize that it's happening. It's such an unconscious process. So your reactions tend to happen really quickly. Like when someone says something that reminds your body of an old experience, your body reacts, and then your thoughts arrive. And sometimes we think it's more of like thoughts first than emotions. So like, I thought something and so I felt something. But usually the more accurate order is that something happens and your nervous system senses it, your body responds, and then your brain creates a story that matches the response that your body is experiencing. And that's a totally different way of understanding what you're going through. Do you notice sometimes that you will have feelings before you have any thoughts about them at all? That's what's at work here, is your nervous system is connecting to your emotional body, and your emotional body is saying, whoa, this is a problem. This happening right now is a problem. You are not okay. And then the thoughts start. This whole process of what your body is going through all the time with thoughts and emotions, it's not your fault. It happened for a reason. But it is your opportunity to choose differently. And I want to be really careful here, because you didn't choose your environment that you grew up in. You didn't choose the parents that raised you or the ways that people around you responded to you. Maybe you had a terrible relationship where a lot of these adaptations came up for you for the first time. Maybe your upbringing was fine, but it was like later on in life that things like this started happening and you had to adapt. It doesn't really matter when, where, or how they came up. They did to protect you. But now you get to participate in what your body learns next by giving yourself the skills that will create new experiences, that will rewire your nervous system and your brain and the interaction between the two. It will teach your body when there's actually threat and when it can settle into safety. And it will teach you how to get back to safety more quickly, more skillfully every time, so that you can make those decisions in greater clarity quicker. So if you remember one thing from this video today, remember that your nervous system learned these patterns. It practiced them, it repeated them, and it automated them, okay? And that's not evidence that there's something wrong with you or that you were at fault in some way. It's simply evidence that you can change. Your body, your system, your brain, it's all adaptable. If you learned these patterns at one point and they became automatic, you can learn different patterns in their place that can also become automatic. And that's where we're headed next.